Welcome to Question Time. This is your chance to find out more about the candidates running in the 2022 BCSU elections. This session is for candidates running for the role of President. I'm your host today, Jack Carson. So if I can get the candidates, starting with ASHA, to introduce themselves.
Hello everyone, my name is ASHA Stewart. So I'm going to tell you a bit about why you should vote for me, and I'm going to do it in the form of song. I'm joking, I'm not going to sing for you, but I do have a bit of, you could call it spoken word. So, if I say community, what do you see? I'll tell you what I see: diversity, equity and unity. But what is a community with no unity? Awarding gaps, disparity, no accessibility. A community is more than you and me. It's a network, a movement, a place of prosperity. Vote for me as president.
I'd love to say carry on, but I've got to stop you. It's your 30 seconds.
Oh wow, you know we need a timer in the background or something.
Okay. And next up.
Hi everyone, I'm BILAL HUSSAIN and I'm running to be your union president this year. So my main motto is that the student comes first. Why, you may ask, and why me specifically? Well, knowing that your mental health is a massive priority, especially moving from this pandemic, I know for a fact that the student life needs to become easier and that we need to think big, especially as we move on into the future. If you vote for me, I'll ensure that you have the best possible time here at BCU.
Thank you. And next.
Hi everyone, I'm Danusha. I'm an international student from India and I graduated law in Birmingham City University, and last year I got elected as your Vice President Student Voice, and this year I'm running for President. And my top three main goals are to create sense of belonging and empowering student voice and inclusivity.
And next.
Hi everyone, I'm LEANNA. Vote for me. Why? Because I will fight for the student experience we all deserve and pay for. An inclusive curriculum timetable sent out on time are just basic things that we shouldn't have to fight for. I will take our student voice to the highest level possible, ensuring that we are all heard. Enough is enough. Students matter. We always have and we always will.
Next.
Hi everyone, I'm Neven. I don't give a flying flamingo, but you should. That's because a vote for me is a vote for free personal attack alarms for every student on campus. A vote for me is a vote for gender-neutral bathrooms in every BCU building. A vote for me is a vote to tell our university to end their substantial investment in fossil fuel companies. And a vote for me is a vote to make our university safer, fairer and better.
Moving on.
Hi everyone, myself VISHALJI ODEDRA and I'm running for the students. Basically, you are not voting for me, you are voting for yourself. I'm running for the president because I think that there should be something like sports and even a collaboration of society internally, and even I think that there should be academics perspective, one-on-one sessions for the academics that basically helps students to grow more. So I think that there should be, this should be something more interesting for the students. So vote for me is vote for the students.
30 seconds, thank you. And finally.
Hi, my name is Taylor. I believe together we can go further. My three goals are simple. One, to make student voice heard, and to close the communication gap between students and the university. Two, to create a wonderful learning and safe experience for students. And three, to encourage, nurture them to their full potential and to make them know the available help that is available for them. Thank you.
Okay. So let's open it up to the floor now then. So you've all had a lot of experience, and from your experience, what are the three kind of top issues that you think students are all concerned about right now?
Time.
ASHA?
Sorry.
Yeah.
So I'd say one of the biggest ones is student experience as a whole, but that can be broken down into different things. The three things I'd say is space and facilities is a very big one. So our student experience is more than what we just do in the classrooms. We have to go out, if we have students that need prayer spaces, we have students that need sensory rooms, so our neurodiverse students. We have facilities like products. What do we have any free sanitary products for the women and people who bleed studying at this university? So it's about going beyond what's just in the classroom and what resources we can provide to make that journey throughout university more accessible. The next one I'd say is around mental health. I think alongside that, what I just said there is we need to support our students' well-being throughout their journey of learning. And when I say mental health, I'm not just talking about one standard service for everyone. We have a very diverse student demographic here at this university, and not one student will need the same mental health support as another student. So I think we really need to tap in and look at the different services and some well-being support we provide for the students and make sure that each student is getting that. And then the final one I'd say is looking at the academic side of things. So is the academic experience fair for all students? At the minute, no, because literally naturally there's an awarding gap. So at the minute, black students who come in at the same grade as white students are more likely to come out with not having a 2 of 1 or a first. So it's about making sure that we find out what's the reason behind these disparities and close those gaps, decolonise the curriculum, make sure that the curriculum is representative of our student demographic. So for me, those are like the 3 kind of like key things.
Okay, Bilal, we'll come to you next.
Okay, that's fine. So I guess the 3 main things are accessibility, support, and the sense of community. What I mean by accessibility is giving everyone, in essence, not just an equal chance to reach out to who they need to, whether it's staff, whether it's the support services we have, but also actually ensuring that they're well looked after for and that there's no discrimination, there's no means of not reasonably adjusting things for students as well. What I mean about support is not just looking at the university as one collective, but as a whole. So I'm currently working on the University Mental Health Charter in regards to looking at how exactly we can make this university a full collective for everyone, ensuring that they get the best support possible out here, not just in their studies, not just in the extracurricular things, but in general, making that sense of community. And like I said, the sense of community being where everyone is aware of being supported, knowing that they have that free reign to that freedom of speech, they're not getting discriminated or demonetized from the system, and pretty much making sure that they have the best experience out here, especially here at BCU.
Danusha?
For me, it would be like awareness, communication, and support as well, as you guys mentioned. First is awareness, because I feel like a lot of students do not know what the university provides, like whether it's a students' union or whether it's mental health service or disability or anything. There are like so many things that university provides, and I think the students are not aware of it. So I want to bring awareness about to students that these are the support available for students. That one, and the other thing is communication. One thing I've noticed that from the time I'm in BCU, that there's a lack of communication, and it's really difficult to bridge the gap. And I think if we do try to strengthen the communication process between university and students, that would really help. And support, of course, because a lot of students with protected characteristics as well as with mental health issues, and we have completely diverse BCU community. So I think it really helpful if we actually support them depending on what their needs are.
Leanna?
I think timetables is a massive issue. You can't organise yourself, and we have all sorts of different students here, international students who have to cover a lot of their fees, so they have to get work. They're not going to be able to organise their life if they haven't got the timetables in time. Also, parents and carers, commitments that happen, they need to organise childcare and things like that. I'm a mature student, I'm a parent, so I understand the issues that parents and carers have to go through, as well as working class. I mean, most people work these days anyway, so it's really difficult if you can't, work or organise your life. Even commitments, we're humans, aren't we? We like to have fun and socialise, and that doesn't mean that should stop because we go to university. So I think timetables are a massive issue. Now, I'm currently working with the timetabling department at the moment to tackle that issue, but I think that's a major one, because I agree with everything all the other candidates have said, but I think timetables are just, the start of the studies, really, to be fair. So, yeah.
And Neven?
So I think one of the big student priorities is safety on campus. Our campuses are not a safe space for all our students. I've been attacked on campus. I was attacked just outside Eastside Park a few years ago, and I've seen no changes to that area to make it a safer space for students. If elected, I will give every student the option to claim a free personal attack alarm. It's a small step, but I think it's a solid step. We need more lighting, we need more CCTV, and we need more security presence on campus. Students also want to go to university that is fair and treats all our students equally. I think it is outrageous that BCU does not provide free sanitary products for all our students. There are so many universities that do this. Why are we so behind with the times? These are only two issues, but I think it's two massive issues, and they are two that I would correct and make positive change on if elected.
Roshan?
For me, main three issues are sports engagement. I think it is available in our union, but in our university, but it's too limited. We can extend it by introducing a small inter-course competition between the courses or between the classes. That will be a massive step to engagement, to give a sports engagement to the students and be interactive with the union and the university. The second one massive is I think every student comes for the knowledge. So I think the one-on-one tutoring sessions may be effective to them while they are on assessment or assignment, whatever they are doing in their particular field. So introduction to this will make a lot change in a student's life and their academic perspective view. And the third one main topic I would like to introduce is like having they're having event like inter society, like collaborating society internally and then organize events so students can explore more and more cultures and more things.
Yeah, and Taylor?
Yeah, to me, the three main issues: awareness, communication, and sense of belonging. Awareness. I'll say awareness because BCU has so much to offer students, especially when it comes to help, when it comes to different type of events that could help students in their study and after graduation. But there's not enough awareness for people to know that, especially international students. I remember I joined in level 6, which was last year, as an international student, and there's so many things I wasn't aware of that BCU could offer to me. So I started talking to some of my friends, or I started communicating with people, and they're like, oh yeah, you could get your CV reviewed, you could do this, you could do that. And there's so many other people like me, especially international students, that they are not aware of all these things, and this could benefit them even after school. Communication, there's a lot of communication gap between the students and the university, and I would love to close that. Sense of belonging, meaning we have, like one of the candidates said, there's a lot of international students here, and there's so much of us that feel lonely, especially out in the new country, a new environment, a new study environment. You come here, there's no sense of belonging. There's no way for you to feel like, oh, okay, you belong there. So I would love for that to change.
Okay. Has anyone got any thoughts on anything that any of that just said, ASHA?
Yeah, I really want to come back to the idea around safety, particularly. I definitely agree with you there, Neven. It's such an important thing that we need to get behind. And I think this president role, well, if you elected me as your president, it's about getting in those external networks as well, because safety is not just on the university, it's not just on the students' union. We need to have conversations with West Midlands Police. We need to have conversations with Birmingham City Council. How can we make them more aware of our situation? What can we do to put things in place to make our students safer? I think it's about extending that conversation and making sure that the right people are involved, and also coming back to getting in the network. One of my manifesto points is on networking, and that's external networks and also internal networks. The student voice needs to be at the forefront of every single thing that we've mentioned here. So already this year, for instance, with the sanitary products, the menstruation products, with the Women's Society, so in my role as equity and inclusion, I've ensured that the Women's Society are at the forefront of that, having voices from the LGBTQ plus society involved in those conversations too. I think as officers, we're there to empower students' voices. I think we're there to help give them the platform to speak on issues that concern them and make sure that we're really targeting it properly. And that can be done with the societies, so creating that network with the societies as well as external organisations to make sure that we really get to the bottom of these problems and the way the students want us to. I think that is the key.
And even what would you come back to that with?
I would absolutely agree with that. We live in the second biggest city in the UK, and I moved here from Inverness, a small city in Scotland, and I was not properly equipped for living in such a major city. So I absolutely think that we can widen the conversation to the City Council, to the police force in the West Midlands, but we need to equip our students here at home and inform them of the unfortunate dangers that are associated with living in such a vibrant city. I know you touched on student voice and engaging that in all the major decisions that we would all, I hope, make it as president. But I found, and as someone who's engaged with the student voice process, I think it is overcomplicated and confuses students. I'm all for having as many people to talk to as possible, but I think at the moment students have so many options, they don't know who to talk to and when. And one of my pledges is to reform that so that it's much clearer, so you know who your options are for what you want to discuss. So I'd love to hear what some of the other candidates maybe think about the current voice structure at the university to make it easy for students to make their voice heard.
Bilal?
You know, I definitely agree. I honestly think that based on like what the other fellow candidates have said today, especially, is that the main thing is that we need to speak about the things which are not comfortable to us, because at the end of the day we've been so, and I know the general university and everything has been so comfortable with the things that we've been able to do, but it's the fact that we don't tend to push forward with the things that we should be speaking about, like safety, like that sense of community, because I know for a fact, and I don't know if you agree with this as well, for example, our campuses, every other student is on different campuses doing different courses and linking into student voice as well. Where is that sense of belonging? Where is that sense of connectivity? Although we've tried our best to push this forward, and this has been a conversation that's been going on ever since I've started here, for the past 3 years even, where's that sense of belonging? Where's that sense of bringing and bridging students together, not just on things of events and stuff, but actually on the things that we need to speak about, such as student safety, such as discrimination, harassment, bullying, etc. Things that impact us all as students, and not on that as well. On top of that, our mental health, which we've already bridged on that as well, because at the end of the day, we don't speak about that enough. We don't speak about that enough, and more has to be done about that.
I'll come to you, Danusha, first. And then
I completely agree with what Bilal said, because a lot of students face a lot of issues, and how many of you actually do speak about it or go ask for support? And there's very less amount of people, and there are platforms like Ideas Board, and they can speak to executive officers, and they're different, or their school reps and course reps as well. And how many people have actually even gone and given feedback? So which is a question, which remains a question, and that's something which is my second key goal, which is that I want to make sure that most of the students are independent with their speech and actually voice out their opinions.
ASHA?
Yeah, just to elaborate on that, I was just going to come back to the idea of the cross-campus engagement, which you slightly touched on there, Bilal. And I think it's so important that, first of all, we recognise we're living in a post-pandemic environment at the minute. So some people probably have only just come to university, didn't really get to experience kind of the college life. That's what I did, and I came to university and I felt much more comfortable, but some people didn't get that. And I think our presence across campuses, and I think it's about really looking at our demographic. I said this before, it's about looking at our demographic, and are surveys working anymore? It's not just about sending a survey across to all the campuses. We really need to get presence on those campuses. We've got how many buildings? We've got City South, we've got School of Acting in Bourneville. How can we get our presence in those different buildings? And not just via internet, not just via surveys. Like I said, we're out of the pandemic now. How can we get more visual? How can we get a physical presence in those environments? And, different people are different. Some people may not want physical engagement. Some people may prefer the surveys. It's about being diverse, looking at the people we're working with, and how if I was your president, how could I engage with you in the way that you'd prefer?
Taylor?
So how to work on the three said, when she said something about students not coming forward to communicate with their course rep or anybody, I think that's where the communication gap between students and the university and or society that represents students comes in. And we need to close that with trust. We need to let the student know that whoever you elect, you could trust them. You could trust all this body that are representing you, and you could come up with issues and you won't get in trouble. Because too, as an international student, if I'm facing the challenges, I'll find it difficult to come forward to speak, because one, I don't want to get in trouble. So I don't know the repercussion of this thing I'm going to say. So that we need to let students know their rights, and we need to close the communication gap with trust.
Okay, and yeah,
I would come to her that communication gap is a very vast problem, and we should come to that, because even I personally am when I was small, I personally hesitated to speak to someone and say that my problem is that I personally hide that thing from the world. So this should be both this is the major problem that should be solved.
Liana, final word to you on this.
So I was just going to touch on what you both were saying there. I think it's also down to having an inclusive teaching and learning space, should I say. I mean, it needs to reflect the diversity of the university, but not only that, the city. I don't think with us being in Birmingham, we shouldn't be struggling in those areas, and I think that will allow students to think, well, you know, I can relate to so-and-so or their peers or their staff members, but we're kind of lacking in those areas here at BCU, so that's something I really want to concentrate on, and that's why, you know, I've started up the decolonising of the curriculum as a starting point, and I want that to widen out to the teaching staff.
Okay, well, your jobs, if any, whoever of you is chosen to be president, are going to be very busy. But what would your first campaign be when you take office? Who wants to go first? Liana?
I think it would be decolonising the curriculum. I would want to carry on with that, because I think until it starts there, I think we're always going to be having these conversations. Inclusivity is a massive thing, and I think it affects so many different areas and students' experiences, so I would definitely be starting there.
Tanusha?
First thing I would do is that actually go to each different campuses and speak to them, because that would something like during the welcome week, and that's the first time where all returning students as well as new students come, and that's when, you know, I can actually help them with, like, you know, create awareness of different services out there, and also it's an opportunity for me to as well, like, you know, understand what are their needs. So that's the campaign which
ASHA?
So the first thing I'd start with, and it's in my slogan, the one that I didn't get to finish off in my spoken word, but it's about unity. So again, networking. I think first, as soon as if I got elected and I got into the office, I'm going to look at the network we have. Again, I don't want to sound like a broken record, but internal and external networks. And then how can those networks help develop my other campaigns? How can I use those networks of students to find out what the students would want my campaigns to look like and the direction they'd like to go in? How can they help facilitate the growth and success of the other campaigns? So I think definitely starting with the networking like manifesto point and campaign, I think.
Taylor?
Like I said, I believe together we can go further. So I'm going to start with communication, closing the communication gap between students and university, which I have to trust, create awareness, come up with a creative way to communicate, which also networking. So I just need to let them know that whoever, like, okay, that if I'm elected, the person you've elected, you could trust, like, the trust has to be there, that you could trust me and your voice needs to be heard.
Bilal?
Yeah. So my first campaign, should I be elected as president, is the You Come First campaign, which is a part of my slogan where the student comes first. Now, I've pretty much touched upon it, but pretty much since I'm currently president of the Mental Health Society, I've been working on the University Mental Health Charter. And what I've proposed to do is actually look into proposing a university-wide mental health or well-being structure, rather, where essentially what it is that I'll be communicating with as many different departments, staff members, the SU even, and figuring out ways which we can communicate with each other to ensure that we promote good mental health, but not just that, but actually ensure that there's programs in place, which I'd like to point forward as well, to educate students about mental health, about their well-being, and about the things which we need to address. So that's what I do.
Neven?
So obviously when students start here, we have our welcome week, and we teach them all about how things work here at university. And as we alluded to in the last question, we don't touch enough about safety. And one thing that I'm surprised there is no mention of in our welcome week, and I know it's a sensitive topic, is consent training. At BCU, there is no mention of that at any point throughout the welcome week at BCU. So I would implement mandatory consent training for all new students here, because it is a sensitive topic and people need to understand the issues surrounding that and be equipped with that knowledge.
Can you explain what that is, just for people that might not kind of understand?
So consent training is about whether you have given your consent to engage in sex, and obviously there are talks of blurred lines if alcohol's involved or if the person is conscious, and whether that person is able to give their consent. And not to simplify this issue in any way, but to remind people that the lack of a no is not a yes, and the details of that, and equip people with that knowledge and information.
And Roshan?
My first campaign would be to communicate with the different societies and cause leaders to promote the sport engagement between the courses.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any kind of questions or thoughts for each other based on that question? No? Okay, well, my final question is, and it's weird because none of you have even become the president yet, but what legacy do you want to leave at BCU? Bilal?
Well, it's pretty much part of, as I said, my slogan, where the student comes first, because at the end of the day, I want to leave that legacy and make it clear that at the end of the day, we come first. Students make the university. No one else, in essence, should come first, and we should. At the end of the day, whatever is done for us or by us should be for every single student out there, not just for one person, not just for one community, but for as much students as we can potentially impact. At the end of the day, I want it to be where whoever takes on the further legacy after myself, if I was to be elected as president, has that foundation to actually realise the student must come first.
ASHA?
The legacy I would like to leave behind is, like I've said millions of times, we've got such a diverse student demographic, but being diverse doesn't exactly mean that we're inclusive. I would like to leave the role as president knowing that I made a more inclusive environment, and the beautiful thing about inclusivity is it fits everyone. It could be inclusive for you, it could be inclusive for you, like it's whatever the student wants that inclusivity to look like. It's about working like proactively to make sure that we can, and reactively, because things happen out of nowhere, to make sure that we make that happen for the students. So thinking long term and really putting things into a strategic plan so that those things are embedded within the community.
Leanna, you were first.
Thank you. The legacy I would like to leave is for a student to feel like they mattered when they came here, but also that the student union is more student-led. I feel like we've kind of lost our way a little bit, and I feel like we need to just be more student-focused so that we're always at the forefront of the decisions at BCU and the student union itself.
Danusha?
To be honest, if you're asking me what legacy I want to leave, probably that would be actually completing my manifesto, because that would be my first priority. And apart from that, probably being there for students, being available for students, supporting to the events, or supporting to them through the feedback forums. Of course, I'm not the vice president of student voice to support them, but at least make sure that they can actually put their views across the board. And this is how I plan to do it.
Yeah, Neven?
So I've been a student here for 4 years now. In that time, I can't say there's a huge amount of real substantial change that I've seen here at the university. If I'm elected, that will not be the case. I've already mentioned some of the real tangible changes I'll do, such as giving out free personal attack alarms to all students, introducing gender-neutral bathrooms across all campuses, and I'd also give students the chance, for example, to have their pronouns on their student ID cards. These are small changes, but they're changes that you would see every day. And that would be my legacy, leaving the SU in a better shape than when I found it.
Rashan?
As for my final legacy, I want to leave is make a clear communication. I believe in contact, collaborate, and then create. Then you will make a greater change.
And Taylor?
Thank you. The legacy I would love to leave behind is to make every student, no matter where they come from, feel they belong here, and their voices is held, and most especially international students, to make sure their learning experience throughout this their journey in BCU is easy, to make it easy for them.
Okay, well, I want to thank you, all the candidates, for coming today and answering my questions. I want to thank you as well for submitting them from home. You can find out more online at bcusu.com/elections, or go to social media using the hashtag BCUSU elections as well. Voting opens on Friday, the 11th of March at 9 a.m, so make sure you go vote. But from me, it's thank you and goodbye.